Welcome back, I'm Brandon the HBAR Bull. This week we cover an interview with the founder and CEO of Hedera, Mance Harmon, who tells us enterprise use cases are coming. We talk about the difference between a network that's actually building and those that are just trying to make price go up. And like always, we'll have some market commentary as well. I'm a contractor for the HBAR Foundation, but the opinions I lay out in this video are my own. With that said, let's get it. Mance did a fantastic interview with the Bank of America head of global crypto and digital asset strategy, HEX Shah. Before we get into some of the things that Mance said, I thought it was worth covering some of the things that HEX says in the introduction. He said it's different from what we've had before. Hedera is taking a very different strategy. Still digital assets, but really an enterprise focus, scalable. It's different from blockchain. Still using DLT technology, and has a governing council that's also a differentiator with firms like Google, Deutsche Telekom, Nomura, and Standard Bank, really cutting across all industries working with Hedera, which is also something very interesting. It's clear that not only does the Hashgraph tech resonate with HEX, but the Hedera Governing Council as well. I also found it interesting that HEX and Mance had both read the book One for Many by D. Hock. That's the inspiration behind the Hedera Governing Council. These two men seem to be on the same wavelength. I could certainly see Bank of America being interested in becoming a council member at some point. It would be nice to see the fourth largest bank in the free world getting on the roster. Okay, now on to Mance. About enterprise focus, he said, we believed from the beginning that the platform that wins enterprise probably ends up winning it all, and we understood that enterprise was a long play. It's always been a long play, but we believe that the value to the enterprise was enormous, and the world is going to move toward a Web3 architecture. Later on in the interview, he talked about some things that really caught my attention. He said what's interesting is we've been building those use cases with enterprise partners, many of which are council members, and the market is just unaware. You're right, the market sees what's going on in the world of DeFi or NFTs, and that's what the average person understands about the crypto space. What they don't see are the foundations that have been laid over the years, and the actual enterprise use cases that are being developed and going to market. And that's where we focused. So I think that's going to play out very well for us. It was music to my ears to hear Mance say what I've believed for a long time, that there's a disconnect between what they're building and the HBAR market. Speaking of the council, he said, they're a great customer advisory board because they're our users. They are the ones developing on our network and will be going to market with their use cases. HEX followed up saying, Bank of America was the first bank to buy a mainframe, so we're definitely moving along. I do think all the banks are looking at the technology, trying to figure it out. Again, it seemed like HEX would certainly be interested in joining the council, but what really struck me was how sure Mance seemed of the coming enterprise adoption. Some thought that Mance seemed to be waffling on this point in the last town hall. Well, in this interview, he seemed pretty sure that not only are the council members building, but they're coming to market, saying things like they are the ones developing on the network and they will be going to market. It was a refreshing and reassuring interview, and I suggest all Hederians go watch the whole thing. In the interview with Max Williams, I brought up a point that I wanted to elaborate on, and here's the clip from that interview. I think another thing you have to consider when it comes to the HBAR market is Hedera and the HBAR Foundation are actually building. Right? So a lot of platforms can use their tokens to incentivize people to buy their tokens. And that's all they do. They aren't actually building the ecosystem with value add propositions like Hedera is and the HBAR Foundation is. Of course, it takes to actually build real things. It takes capital, right? And that's what they're using their HBAR treasuries for. Now, I didn't have a coin in mind at the time, but I think the ERC20 HEX is a perfect example of a token whose sole purpose is to incentivize investment and involvement by way of its token distribution and structure, also known as tokenomics. I don't think the creators of HEX would have any argument with that. They use every trick in the tokenomics book, from high staking rewards and incentivizing long lockups to burning tokens. Actually, the founder of HEX even created a competitor to Hedera and Ethereum with a proof-of-stake Ethereum fork called Pulse Chain. It still has all the blockchain trilemma limitations that Ethereum does, but they don't have the network effect since they still only have a testnet. Still, I'm sure they'll pull out every tokenomics trick they can to attract attention and capital. I wish them the best of luck in their endeavor, though. Though there's been plenty of criticism of HEX calling it a Ponzi scheme, I'm certainly not going to judge its validity. Who knows, it may prove to be a store of value over time. Now, I do have some concerns around its sustainability and the regulatory implications of a platform like this, but I'm all for the free market deciding which platforms are the best stores of value. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that using tokenomics techniques to increase the value of the HBAR is important to attract capital into the ecosystem. But there's a lot to be built, and priority must be put on creating a vibrant HBAR economy and the most performant DLT network on the planet. There's no question that HEX vastly outperformed HBAR to their peaks, but HEX isn't immune to drops. HEX and HBAR have dropped almost the exact same amount from their relative peaks, despite Hedera using its treasury very differently, mainly for building and education rather than to incentivize token appreciation. Hedera still needs to improve the network, attract talent, educate potential builders and developers, and build necessary infrastructure. And this means HBAR will be sold to raise capital to do so. So the question becomes, why get involved as an investor? Well, there's two sides to every trade. To build, Hedera needs to sell, and at times that may depress the price, which should be great for those that are accumulating. Here's how I'm looking at it. From the beginning, and likely for a while, Hedera is going to be spending on the network, underlying infrastructure, and on the use cases built on top of both. If successful, that will add significant value in the years to come, at just about the time when less HBAR is hitting the market. And no matter how you look at it, there's a hard cap of 50 billion HBAR. Like I said in last week's market commentary, we could see some good opportunities in the next 18 months, but I've also mentioned that if the market realizes that Hedera is actually achieving its goal, demand could easily overwhelm any possible supply. I'm an investor first, but I want to be involved with the platforms that are truly going to change the world for the better, and I believe Hedera, with its value-add proposition across almost every industry, will do just that, while also being a success for those that invest their time, skills, reputation, and money. A few days ago, we learned how big privacy-related use cases could be for the Hedera network when we interviewed Roy Smith about Consentive. The HBAR Foundation sees the potential, and today we have a new guest from the foundation, Jessica, to tell us about their new privacy-related fund. Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So can you run us through a general overview of the privacy fund and what its goals are?
Yeah, absolutely. The Privacy Fund is a market development fund. So it is a partner-run fund with the goal to support developers building privacy-preserving technology in the Hedera ecosystem through our grants program.
Okay, I gotcha. So we were happy to hear about Privacy Check and Consentive. Can you give us some other examples of the kinds of use cases we might see the Privacy Fund supporting?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of interesting use cases that have come through and applied through the foundation on our website. Consentive was one of those very early on, and that one's I think a really unique use case where users can who give their consent to ad networks can earn revenue from giving their consent and using their data. So it's a great way to kind of bring the power back to those users. And it's similar to kind of the Brave privacy browser. It's going to be unique to have on the Hedera network. Another one that has just recently been approved is WebShield's safety privacy project. And it's using Web3 technology to enable people to take control of their own privacy and data across different personal and enterprise silos. So the goal is to securely and privately connect consented data from individuals. And then a third one is an application that we're still reviewing. And this project is first starting in the healthcare space, but it has the ability to expand over multiple verticals and entertainment and enterprise, everywhere. And this one is more of a project that's adopting kind of the financial structures of trust and custody and escrow by using NFTs and the Hedera technology for consented data rights that are making those data rights transparent, immutable, and also portable.
Yeah, so you mentioned healthcare, and I know Acor's big into that. How does Jim Nasser and Acor fit into this whole picture?
Yeah, so Jim is great. We've had a really good relationship with Jim and Acor team for the past couple of years, and he's such an excellent person to lead the privacy fund, given his experience with in healthcare and data and privacy. And he's been a huge, him and A4, his company, has been a huge supporter of Hedera. They're very early adopters of us, and a longtime advocate, and as well as an SI partner for Hedera. And they've been building multiple Hedera-enabled technologies such as write hash, hash load, and hash log.
Yeah, they've been great. They've been HBAR from the very beginning. Jessica, thank you so much for doing this and giving us a quick overview. Do you have anything else you'd like to pass on before we let you go?
Yeah, we're just super excited about this collaboration with ACOR and HBAR Foundation to be able to provide more grants to projects in the privacy space. We've seen a lot of applications come through, and it's so great to be utilizing Jim and the ACOR team's expertise to, provide these grants in a manner that I think will be very good for the Hedera ecosystem and growing the Hedera ecosystem.
Well, if we keep coming out with stuff like Consentive, I think it's going to be pretty good. Thank you so much again for coming by.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
This past week was jam-packed with a Hamilton's Reserve interview on Monday, an update with Stater calling all builders to use HBAR on Wednesday, and Roy Smith from Privacy Check stopped by on Thursday to talk about their use case Consentive, which could increase network usage by an order of magnitude or even two pretty quickly. Next week, we'd like to do a guide on how you can move your Stater HBAR to a mobile wallet. It looks like we should get show favorite Rob Allen along with Miko midweek, and we'll be on for an HBAR Foundation Twitter Spaces Wednesday 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about how Revel is changing how fans and athletes interact. There's no way to sugarcoat this. HBAR is underperforming and sitting at about 15.7 cents at the time of recording. Crypto has been struggling, but HBAR is in the bottom third out of the top 100 cryptos, down about 16.6% on the week. There are some that lagged HBAR like Polygon, Theta, and Phantom, but it hasn't been the greatest run. Bitcoin is down, but there's clear underperformance. HBAR enjoyed support at about 470 to 480 sats all year, but that recently broke. If Bitcoin goes down to its summertime low of about 29K, I don't think HBAR's low of around 14 cents is going to hold, and a test of 10 cents would be in the cards. The previous support of 19 cents has probably flipped to resistance, and the next area of support will likely be at the 2021 summer low of about 14 cents. Right now, we just need to hang our hats on network staking going live and other positive catalysts that Hedera might have coming. We are overdue for a council member announcement, but I'm really hoping we get some high-volume use cases coming to market. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment, like, and subscribe if you appreciate the content.